Yeah, hopefully.
Yes, we are actually up here for a reason.
To wipe us all
We
out.
at the 405th would like to offer our special thanks to Jen Taylor and Stephen Downs for their contribution to the Halo universe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Jen, I'll help you with those.
Thank you.
So you can get them to Jen over here on the side of the stage. Jen, can you come up here?
Where do you want me?
Already. And you really don't want
Jen, I didn't do anything to your work.
I can't have anything nice, can I?
No, you really don't. No.
Thank you, Jen.
What were you asking? Did you just ask me to move or something?
No.
Oh.
What happened was, Jen, you have the
Jen.
same name as Jen.
Jen and Jen.
Right, which is what it was. So I'm super excited about this for many reasons, as I could see that a lot of people here are as well. I've had a chance to do events with both of you, but never have I got to sit on stage with you together.
That's true, and I think, at least for me, this is the largest panel I think we've ever done in terms of attendance, right?
Give yourselves a round of applause.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for joining us, of course. The name of this panel, for those of you who don't know, is there's two of us in here now. Who knows what game that's from? The quote? Halo 3. That's right.
Green guy versus purple
So I
guys.
guess I just want to first of all thank the 405th. They're exiting
Yes,
now.
they're exiting. Bye.
Thank you, 405th.
See you back at the barracks. By the way, it was a little dirty when I left there. You guys cleaned that up a little bit with it. They never listened to me.
So as a reminder, if you guys want to see more of the 405th and the cosplay here on site, 6 p.m. on the content stage. But I want to dive in now. Like I said, I'm so excited to have both of you guys on the whole tour. We're going to have you in every city.
Absolutely.
So each panel is going to be completely different. But you guys here in Orlando are catching the very first panel with Steve and Jen. Like I said,
Dun, dun, dun.
the biggest crowd that we've had, I think, in terms of a VO panel. And I'm excited to dive in. I want to start a little bit with how you guys got in the industry, and go from there. I guess Steve, we'll start with you. Was there a point, you have a lot of years on radio. Was there a point where you know you wanted to work in VO?
I think when I was in Los Angeles, actually backing up a little bit, my career sort of began in Pittsburgh. And I was a disc jockey, and I also, as part of your duties, you're making radio commercials. And I sort of liked that, especially I would make, concert commercials and, that kind of thing. And I enjoyed the process of assembling all that and mixing the music and everything. And then, of course, voicing it. And so I developed an interest in it from that point. And when I moved to LA, that's sort of the voiceover capital of the world, and there's just a lot of opportunity to be able to sort of expand your range a little bit beyond just being a disc jockey. So,
At what point did in your career in VO did Chief come along? Had you done a lot of dedicated kind of non-radio VO work, or was it?
Well, most of the VO work I did, voiceover work, was commercial work. Selling soap, as we say. Or used cars, or whatever it might be. The whole Master Chief thing came along quite by accident, really. And I often say, of course, it's the biggest gig of my life, and it's the only one I never auditioned for, because Marty O'Donnell, who was, Bungie was based in Chicago at the time, where I was working at a radio station. And Marty used to listen to me on the radio, and he just called up one day and said, we got this character here, and we got this game, and we think you'd be the right guy for it. You want to do it?
It's wild.
Yeah, I said.
And have you met Led Zeppelin? That's what he really wanted to know.
Yeah.
Do you know all those
Yeah.
guys?
I think that was a precursor to getting the gig if I knew Jimmy Page.
Right.
So
Right.
I said that I did. But anyway, so that's how it all got started, and that was 19 years ago, and here we are.
Wow.
Dope.
Jen, how about you? Your start in VO? VO?
Yeah, I was a theater actor. I studied theater at Northwestern University outside Chicago, and I graduated. And you know, I think like any good theater actor, you go, oh God, what am I going to do now? I can't make a living doing theater. And somebody had said to me, I think you should do voiceovers. My best friend, and I said, I don't really know what that means. She said, like The Simpsons. That was her response. So I'm still waiting for that. So I just started, I put together a voiceover reel. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought, well, maybe this is a way that I can pay for theater. And I started doing commercials like you, and I was a radio DJ for a while, although the radio station that I worked for denies it.
Do they?
Well, there's this list. I worked for 107.7 The End in Seattle.
Sure you did.
And yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
And there's a list of all the people who worked there in the 90s. And my name's not on there. Riley. I was Riley. I really was, you guys. I was Riley. I'm not.
What do you guys think?
I'm not kidding.
Yeah?
Anyway.
Most people believe you here.
Yeah. The Real World was filming there when I was there. 107.7 The End. This is Riley. What's up? Here's some Nirvana. That's mainly what I did.
Okay, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
I'm buying it.
Anyway, so I did that, and then I got involved in commercials, and then there was a burgeoning, video game industries in Seattle at the time, and I feel like it was just the right place at the right time, and I stumbled into it.
How about for you? I mean, you also have done a lot of voices for different games. At what point in your VO work, or even your VO for games, however you kind of think of your career and how it's gone, at what point did Halo come in terms of how much you had already done in VO?
More towards the beginning, I would say. Yeah, maybe 1/3 of my way. So, well, who knows what I'll get to do next? But I had done a few other games. A lot of computer games for kids, teaching kids how to read and how to count, stuff like that. And so it was about 1/3 of the way, I would say.
Cool. Which kind of brings us to the next thing I want to talk about. Do you specifically remember, Steve, when you were first contacted about Halo, like you said, with talking to Marty? Just like your generic thoughts. I mean, like, I don't know how it works in the VO industry. Do you get materials? This is late '90s, early 2000s. Do you get? How does that process even work?
Yeah.
Well, to put it bluntly, I got nothing. Marty, we had a conversation, and he sort of laid out the Halo universe as it was then, and then laid out who Master Chief was in that picture, and we had no visual reference. There was no sketch,
right?
To show me. And I always remember, because Marty said, think of him as like a Clint Eastwood, when Clint Eastwood was doing the spaghetti westerns and Dirty Harry a little bit. A guy who was a man of few words, but when he did speak, somebody usually died.
Yeah.
So that was his and that's really what I took into the studio for the first time, is that this Clint Eastwood was very much in my head when we did Combat Evolved.
Yeah. So are you doing VO without having seen any reference?
I had no reference, nothing.
For all of the Halo 1?
Oh no.
Or just early stuff?
Yeah, after the game came out, they were nice enough to
No, for all of
ship
Halo
me a
1.
game.
Sure. But for all of Halo 1 recording?
We didn't know it.
For me, right? Yeah.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Wow.
What attracted me and what I fell in love with was the storyline. I mean, I was always a science fiction nut anyway. I always loved science fiction and as a genre. So, as he laid out Halo to me, I was like, wow, this is a really cool science fiction story. And that's kind of when I sunk my teeth into at that point. So
Incredible. Jen, what about you? First impressions of everything?
Well, I had to audition.
Unlike Steve.
Cool, too.
yeah, some of us do.
And they had said to me, we're not sure if she's going to be vaguely European or American. And so I had to do a vaguely European and then an American dialect.
Where are those vaguely European? recordings.
Yeah,
I think it's in the northeast corner,
Yeah.
somewhere between Bulgaria, right?
There's a mix.
There's a little country
It's
called
like-
Vaguely
Do you remember?
European.
Do you remember what that sounded like? The vaguely European
You
Cortana.
know, what you do is you take different dialects from all over the place, and so it doesn't really sound like anything, you know? It sounds, sometimes
Swiss,
it sounds
Dutch,
Spanish, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's British. Is she, where is she from? Is she French? So you don't know, which is great if you can't really do any of those dialects really well.
yeah.
You can swish them all together. Anyway,
So
I
once she
didn't
was
see-
American.
Yes, once she was American. They said, we want girl next door. Girl next door, there is no romance between them. That's what they kept saying to me over and over again. There's no romance. She's the girl next door. She is your biggest ally. And I didn't know what she looked like, though they said they were going to model her on Nefertiti. So I knew that much. And then I didn't really get to see it. I mean, I got the game, but I didn't have anything to play it on.
Right. So you have the standalone Halo 1 for Xbox with no Xbox.
Yeah.
With no Xbox,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm horrified to tell you guys that I didn't really get to see Cortana until Halo 3.
Wow.
I know,
About
it's so bad. I went to I think I saw a drawing. I saw a drawing for Halo 2. But Halo 3, they had this big release party, and I went to the release party, and I saw all these beautiful videos, and I was like, oh, she's so great. That's wonderful. Yes, that's when I discovered her.
Oh, which actually leads perfectly into
Oh.
the next thing that I wanted to
I
ask.
just such a write-up, didn't
You
I?
did. It was perfect.
Good.
So obviously, you're both coming from a point where you're not seeing a ton of visual reference through all of Halo 1, or maybe all of Halo 2 as well. And then there's certainly a point, and there must be, where you realize, wow, this thing's gotten real big. Do you remember what that was like when you kind of realized, okay, this is not just a VO job? You know, this is a mega franchise.
I remember it vividly. I was in Florida actually with my
Go Florida.
my girlfriend.
Anybody here from Florida?
He's just exactly. He's just trying to get you on his side by saying
That's right.
Florida.
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 Go Florida. I was in Palm Beach, I think it was. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and so we were staying at her brother's house, and he had several boys who were boys, and I remember walking through their living room one day, and they were playing Halo. Now this is way past. Halo 1 had been out at least a year, maybe a year and a half, and I knew nothing of the success of the game.
Yeah.
That's when the news of gaming was kind of kept in the gaming world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't on the front page of the New York Times or in Time magazine.
As I recall, they didn't want us to talk about the fact that we were in the game because they really wanted people to see the characters and not us.
So I had no clue, and I was walking through the living room and they're playing the game, and I stopped and I was like, I think I voiced a character in this game. And the kids are, they're like, huh? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, who was it? And I couldn't remember his name. I couldn't remember his name, and I said, I don't know, but I think he was the main guy in the game.
He's the main guy.
And he said, and they said, Master Chief? I was like, yeah, it was Master Chief. Well, within 15 minutes, there's 30 to 40 kids outside this guy's door with a copy of the game or their Xbox or something wanting me to sign it. And this was a revelation.
So that was your first signing?
That was it. We went down to a local GameStop or whatever passed for a GameStop at that time, and they had a big life-size cutout of Master Chief, and I'm like, wow.
At that point, you had seen Master Chief, so you...
I think I had seen it, but maybe not.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, I'm a badass.
That's right. Hey, an incredible resemblance. Did they do that freehand?
I've got pecs
Hey,
today.
yeah, look at that guy. But yeah, that was, and I mean, it was a life-changing moment.
Sure. Jen, how about for you?
Well, when they asked us to do Halo 2, I thought, I guess Halo 1 was a success. So
Or successful enough.
It's successful enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, for Halo 3, they had me film this thing called the Cortana Chronicles. I don't know if any of you saw that. where
Yes!
I traveled around. He saw it.
Legendary Edition Halo 3.
Oh, okay. I traveled around the world meeting people, and I thought, oh, okay, well, okay, awesome. And then at the party, at the party for Halo 3, when I got to see the visuals, I met Bill Gates. And that was when I went, oh, oh, this must really be something.
But apparently they couldn't afford any clothes for her.
She was very cold. I think that was probably when.
Yeah. I want to shift into a little bit into characters now, and talk a little bit about some of your favorite aspects of your respective characters. Jen, can be multiple for you, for both Cortana and Halsey, but just things that you've spent so much time voicing these characters, things that you've come to love as you kind of establish a relationship, of course, with them.
Halsey is one of my favorite characters that I voice, and I think they keep saying to me, she is the smartest being in the universe, basically. So to have absolutely nothing to prove at all is a really powerful, fun place to be.
I bet.
It's really a sexy place to be. And I love that about her. She does not have any shits to give. Like, no fucks for you to give. Sorry, Susan. Sorry. That's not cool. That's not cool. She just doesn't care. How's that? Doesn't diddly squat. And at the same time we can argue about this for days, but where I'm coming from is that she's trying to save the world. She's trying to save humanity. Not the world, she's trying to save humanity. And so it comes from a really powerfully positive place, even though she screwed with so many people.
Right.
You know, Dr. Mengele, basically.
Yeah, right.
You know.
But in a good way.
Yeah. And Cortana, what do I not love about Cortana? This is the character that I have spent the longest time with, too. So I've gotten to know her over these 18, 19 years.
Right.
Every time I pick up a script, I'm learning something new about her, which is unlike anything I've ever worked on. I imagine people who are in any movie franchise or any TV show that goes on for any length of time feel this way, that I'm really in love with her and I'm very protective of her, and she's not the bad guy. She is a strong, capable, fiery woman who, I love her.
You love her?
I just love her.
We do too.
Yeah, she's super strong. Sorry. Yeah.
If only everybody would just think like her.
Right?
The
Come
world-
on, guys.
Does anybody know anybody like that?
Steve, how about you? Some of your favorite things about Chief?
It's funny. This happened just the other day. I went to my doctor for a physical, and we live in Chicago at the moment, and we're about ready to move to Florida.
We saved that one.
And anyway, so he had been my physician for the last 20 years.
Chief Plus, we say.
Yeah, and and so anyway, there was a moment. So we're just doing the physical, and then I was going to say goodbye to him, and in my own inimitable style, sort of fumbled for the, love you, man. Or, no.
You say finish the fight? What happened?
No, I just couldn't. Sort of a typical guy thing where you have that awkward, way to try to express an emotion, right? Thank you. Really, you've been a great doctor. But the thought occurred to me on the way home is like, that's probably about how Master Chief would have handled it.
Right.
You totally emceed it.
He has emotions and has a difficult time funneling them into his real world situations. And so I identify with that,
Yeah.
and it's an interesting process to watch him go through it. The most unique thing about voicing these characters is the rich history that we get to draw from, a la everything around you,
Yeah.
and the books, and the comics, and the other stories, and the fan stuff. I mean, it's just such a, to be able to tap into that kind of stuff beyond the script that you're given is such a gift, and it makes it so much fun to dive into the character.
Was there a time when was it really those launch parties where you kind of first got to connect? Speaking of being in a place like this, and as someone who had a chance to work on Halo for the past few years, there's a certain, you can be, imagine as a voiceover artist, you're in the studio and you're kind of in your element, you're in your zone. Of course, for us in the studio, we're locked into the projects we're working on, but there's something special about being in a place like this. Are there moments that you remember where you first got to kind of meet? I guess for you, it might be the story you shared earlier, kind of when there's 40 people outside the door all of a sudden. Were there moments for either of you where you're like, wow, not only am I seeing the scale on display, but I'm seeing what this franchise means to others. Did you guys remember the first moments like that?
First moment.
Or any stories?
Yeah, there are so many now.
I think,
so many people who tell us how much this game has meant to them, how it's changed their life, or I hear a lot from people how it raised them.
Yeah.
And you have no idea how powerful that is to us. I'm getting teary. This is awkward.
I'm getting chills.
We hear all sorts of that, and it's really marvelous to come here and hear that. The first time when I did this Cortana Chronicles thing was when I realized how important. It's when I started to realize how important it was to so many people. So I think that was probably the time for me. I met these really awesome ladies. I was gonna swear again. I have a foul mouth. These really awesome ladies down in Austin, Texas, who I tried to play Halo with, but I'm an idiot and I couldn't. They tried to help me. They were really awesome. Anyway, that's probably my first time.
I always, one of my favorite things that I hear, you hear this often is as Jen said, you're part of my childhood. You're an integral part of my childhood. And the two comments I hear from people is, you're the reason why I got through college, or you're the reason why I didn't get through college. I
haven't heard that
equal
one.
shares
of
both. But I think for me, it's been sort of a cumulative thing, and that's the beauty of being able to be at events like this, especially like this. But even your regular Comic-Cons and that kind of thing, is that you are able to touch the fans in a way that you sort of understand the importance of the game, and I think in many ways it's sort of unique in pop culture the way the person playing the game relates to the game.
Sure.
It's a participatory event.
Well, they're you.
They are me. They are Master Chief.
Master Chief.
And that was the genius of the design of Master Chief, is to not give him a face, to never reveal his face, because like I
His her face.
His her
His
face.
her face.
Absolutely.
Come on, ladies.
Are there? Yeah.
Yes, there are ladies. Yeah, ladies.
Yes, indeed. But when you look into Master Chief's visor, the reflection you see is your own.
Right.
And I don't think that was. I think that was intentional, and that's who it should be. Is that you're the one that's deciding his fate and the fate of others. So I think it's a unique.
Yay!
I don't think I've asked you guys, either of you, this. Do you happen to have a favorite scene or line? It doesn't have to be from your characters, but I assume it may come from your character. Might play a pivotal role, but yeah, any favorite quotes, scenes, or lines?
Our favorite scene, bet you can't stick it.
You're on.
We've done. We've talked about this actually. Our favorite scene is the same,
Yeah.
and it's the end of Halo 4. Because we got to work together for the first time on that game. And we were in the same room.
Yeah.
And I was bawling in the corner, right?
Yeah, but not as bad as I was.
Turning on the water.
I was much worse. Jen has the ability to, as any good, really professional actor does, is to turn those emotions. She knows the switch to hit to bring those emotions to life, and she knows the switch to hit to turn them off. I didn't have the off switch. So we're doing the final of Halo 4, and I just remember, I told Jen, and you remember Jen and I had only met a year earlier, and that was just it was the 10th anniversary of Halo.
Yeah, we met in 2011.
So we'd never met before, so it wasn't like Jen and I had spent a whole lot of time together. And so here we are in the studio, and I said to her when we were getting ready to do these final scenes, I said, if I reach out to grab your hand, I don't want you to go to freak out. I just felt like I needed to tell her that I may do that.
Yeah.
Just as an emotional support thing, and to help me, help the character get to where he needed to be. So Jen was like, okay, fine. So we're getting to that point. Jen, holds out her hand for me to take, and I was so in my
Let's hold hands, Steve. Let's hold hands.
Yeah, I didn't take her hand. So
left me hanging.
We're done, and she's like, dude.
Totally Tom Brady'd me.
Left, yeah. Wow, really? Nothing.
High five. No.
And but I remember when that scene was over, Jen's first words were something like, "Any more coffee? Anybody?" And I'm like a puddle on the floor over here, trying to pull myself back to some sort of reality. And
I remember it like that.
Yeah.
My favorite line is from the entire series. This is gonna surprise people. I said this earlier. Is "Welcome home, John." That's my favorite line.
It's pretty remarkable that I think a lot of people in the room have probably heard the story of how you hadn't met for the first 10 years, let alone recorded together.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that your favorite scene, Steve, would kind of bring us to that moment. I think a lot of people have heard the story on different panels of kind of how you met, but what I wanted to ask about is a little bit more, that dynamic of being in the same room together versus before when you're kind of just in a booth alone. Have you guys recorded has it been since Halo 4 everything together or
no?
We didn't do Halo 5 together.
That's the one and only time that we were able to be in the same room together.
Yeah, talk to us just about the differences of that dynamic.
Well, it's shifted since then as far as now we're doing performance capture.
Right.
Steve's sadly not doing performance capture, but I'm doing performance capture. So I'm working.
You might want to. I don't know if everybody knows what that means, but
you guys know for PCAP, it's motion capture where it's Lord of the Rings. It's what's
we have all those little
Lord
things
of the
stuck
Rings.
all over
you got
your
the
body.
little balls all over you, and
you guys know it.
You know it.
All right.
So we're doing that now, and so I'm actually weirdly connecting to somebody different.
Right.
So it's shifted a little bit for me. I'm working with different people, and it's.
She's moved on.
Yeah, whatever, Steve.
Yeah. Dear,
No.
he got the classic Dear John letter.
Oh, that joke is so bad. 117 Main Street.
Yeah, that's right. I got your 117.
But let me go back. When Steve and I met, I have felt like I was taking a journey, a very singular journey, and I finally met the other person in the raft with me.
Yeah.
So it was, I felt like we were instantly buddies.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, you're the one who's been sitting next to me this whole time, and I've never met you until now, thank God.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like when we met.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I can't even add to that. It is a unique journey, and it's good to have a pal.
Ah, geez.
Steve, you mentioned in terms of Jen being able to kind of turn the dials differently. For both of you as voiceover artists, is there a certain set of things you do to kind of get into a mindset when you're in the booth, or do you find that it kind of is really just about the character and you focus on that?
No, well, for me, I have to guard against that, because that's the thing about doing the same, and this is my one and only real experience in this, being able to repeat a character over and over and over again.
There's tape on it.
The temptation that I have to resist is that very thing that you just said, is just turning it on. All of a sudden he's talking in this voice, and that's what he does. You got to resist that and prepare yourself to go in and do the work. And I had a voice coach once and this applied to anything that you might be doing. She said, whatever it takes for you to get into character, whatever that is it a particular shirt? Is it a belt buckle? And for me, it was a pair of boots. And I think I may have worn these old cowboy boots that when I went in to do Combat Evolved, just coincidentally, it's just what I had on at the time. So part of it is superstition, I suppose, and the other part of it is, it's the only time I wear them is when I'm doing a session for Master Chief. So it's a physical manifestation of that's the thing that triggers for me. And so whatever your trigger is, it doesn't matter what it is, but it's good for me to have something that says, okay, game time.
Right.
And then as much as it's possible to be able to try to work yourself into the mental space you need to be when it is time to start recording. And for me, that can be a several-day process.
Sure. So am I correctly understanding that these boots have served every single Chief recording?
Every single Chief recording.
This is some high-value boots.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize just how sweet those boots are.
Yeah, someday you're going to have to auction those off.
Yeah, but they're getting a little stinky.
Oh.
Maybe
Nobody will
have to
want
do something about that.
Oh my.
Keep them in an airtight
Yeah.
in the Halo Museum.
Hermetically sealed, yes. Right.
I wear a blue unitard, full body.
Always.
Always.
Blue unitard, if you didn't catch that.
I think that was a very eloquent description of how, I don't know that I have too much to say. It's like any acting gig. There are always, I play a couple different characters, and there's always technical things you do. But I'm getting to know these characters so well that it's easier to fall into. I remember for Halo 2, I had a hard time. And I was also sick a lot during the recording session for some reason. I have a cold, if you go back and listen to Halo 2.
So do I.
My nose is stuffed up. But I'm feeling so comfortable with them now that I know where to find them.
Right.
And